Hey crew, welcome to one of the very first episodes of Boxing Bells, where her story packs a punch. I'm Laura, and I could not be more excited to kick this off. If there's one thing boxing teaches us in kickboxing, it's how to push through adversity. Today's guest embodies that spirit in every way. She's a force in fitness, a kickboxer with grit, and now she's chasing her passion into real estate with the Platinum Group. Please welcome the amazing Lizzie. What's up, Lizzie?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on.
Yes, I'm so excited to be launching this. It's all about women and what women do behind the scenes. I love the entrepreneurial spirit. I'm so excited to dive into your journey today, from the ring to real estate, and really uncovering what it really means to follow your passion and bet on yourself. So, for those out there that might not have met you just yet, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found yourself loving kickboxing.
Yeah, so born and raised in Florida all my life, so I am one of those true Floridians. Never lived anywhere outside of the state, have traveled, of course. I found kickboxing about 10 years ago. When my sister graduated college, she moved up to Brevard County, and her husband at the time, they found a kickboxing gym, and that was something that they loved doing together. So when it was my turn, I was like, you know what? Let me be closer to my sister. I moved up here as well, and she brought me to a kickboxing gym. And the funny story about it is that I tried my first class and I hated it.
You hated it.
Hated it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm terrible. This is miserable. This is like, why do people do this? And which was funny because even though I said all that, I came right back. And
What had you coming back after that first class? Was it that like you couldn't stop thinking about it, or you're like, I want to try again? What led to that for you?
I think my mind was in one pocket and then how my body felt was in another pocket. So I think the endorphins of how my body felt was like trying to signal my brain, like, it's okay, give it a second try. And I'm so glad I did because then 10 years later, that journey has been absolutely incredible.
That is awesome. I feel like sometimes when you first walk in, right, to your first class, it's daunting and it's like, oh my gosh. And I don't know about you, but my first class, I felt like everybody was staring at me. Of course, you find out that nobody cares what you're
Mhm.
doing because they're so focused in their own practice and what they're doing. But how was that for you, just really getting out of your shell and, just going back for more and more?
It was very different, and the more that I kind of allowed myself to be in a vulnerable state in something so new, I think that was very addicting in a good way because
Yeah.
I liked that rush, that feeling, and then when you do realize that things click, once that
Yeah.
starts clicking and then everything that encompasses the discipline of the sport, you get very attached. So I think once I got over that initial like, okay, everyone starts somewhere. I
Yeah.
just happened to be in a class where these people have done it a while. And for me, honestly, in hindsight, that was probably the best way to learn. Like, there is no beginner, there is technically no step one. You have
Yeah.
to find what works for you and find your flow, your rhythm, because everybody is so different. And I think that is something that can be intimidating because we expect, like, oh, here is step one. And it's a good mirror because life isn't like that, but if you stick with it, the results are incredible.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to you about everything you're doing on the entrepreneurial side of things because I really think that what you said there reflects so much of the grit and discipline. What would you say, just in your everyday life, a lesson that kickboxing has taught you from the gym that is carried with you?
Consistency is everything. And I think a lot of times we get distracted by celebrities and we see like that hype, that attention, and we're like, oh man, like we'll never be that. But sometimes, like, there are situations if that you want it badly enough and you're willing to work for it, hard work will beat talent in the long run where talent doesn't work. So if you have that consistency, if you're willing to make those little sacrifices, if you're willing to work a little bit extra just to get to the same spot, it makes such a huge difference. And I think with kickboxing, it's a very good mirror to the real world because on your first day, you're going to be terrible. Like
Yeah.
you just are. Yeah.
That is awesome. And I'm wondering, is there like ever a moment in kickboxing or in a class that you thought, like, this is more than just a workout for me?
Oh, 100%. I think a lot of times when I tell people like, "Oh, I kickbox and I love it," it is good to get like the anger out. However, for me, it wasn't so much about being angry or necessarily solely focusing on the defending myself. It was more eye-opening to realize how we are controlled by our everyday emotions, and if that is left unchecked, we don't realize how it pours into everything that we do. So the more that I got into kickboxing, especially sparring, it's very easy to get emotional sparring. You get tagged in the face one time, you want revenge so badly, but when you realize you can control your breathing, because all you can control is yourself, right? Your breathing, your emotions, and that actually controls your whole situation. Then you can actually make better choices, better decisions, better fighting choices when you're sparring. And that's what I think I admire most, is that it's that discipline, it's that control of emotion versus having that uncontrollable emotion.
And I was wondering just on what you had said there about sparring. Do things slow down for you when you're sparring, or is that something you had to teach yourself because, you can't control the actions of the other person who's coming at you? But how has that really just helped you with maybe slowing down or really being in the moment where you might have a split second to think?
Oh, exactly. 2 minutes, 2 round minutes, it feels like forever. I
Yeah.
remember going and to like I'm like counting down the clock, listening for that 30-second bell. 2 minutes feels like forever. So time really does move really slowly when your adrenaline is at high. And in that moment, you're thinking like, okay, you can't run away. The good practice is not to not run away. But until the bell rings, right? Like
Oh,
what can you do and how can you react? So those little moments, like even if you did poorly in that round, the lesson to kind of take out of that is that you train so that way you get in those moments, you let your body react. You let your body react in those moments so you don't have to think. And I feel like the moment that you start thinking, you start getting in your head, that is a lesson for later. Like, I can't do that because time is of the essence and every reaction counts.
yeah, and that's like such an important skill that gets developed in boxing and kickboxing is the art of not thinking because you
Yeah.
prepared your body. You've done so much of that preparation. The moment you start thinking is kind of when you're just going to start tripping over yourself and you're like, "Oh, I just thought about that last move where somebody just punched me," and next thing you know something else is coming at you. I know recently you've made a big career change. Tell us a little bit about that and what like really spurred you to say, "Hey, I'm going to take that next step, that leap of faith. I really want to bet on myself."
Yeah, so I decided a couple months ago that I'm going to dive headfirst into real estate. Living in Florida, a lot of people obviously want to move here. There's a lot of business, so that has always been something that caught my eye. The one thing that I did admire about realtors is that I know that the harder you hustle, the more the return in that reward. That was something that I admired, and it's the way that a lot of people that I knew in my life conducted their business. Entrepreneurship is obviously very difficult. You're depending on yourself. Sometimes you don't know when the next paycheck is coming in. However, having that ownership was something that I was willing to take a risk for. I'm sure with a lot of people, if you're not completely happy or passionate about whatever it is that you're doing, life is super short. So I was thinking, the time is now, while I'm still young, while I'm still have this hustle and bustle energy, that I'm going to chase something that will serve me on my own terms.
Yeah, I love that. As you were talking, I was getting like flashbacks of your Instagram. Like I love your Instagram and your real estate Insta of I just saw you doing cartwheels
Yeah.
the last time, but then also there was one that you were putting like a for sale sign outside and somebody was like passing by and you're like, I'm gonna chase after you.
Yeah.
Like would you like to buy a house and all that good stuff. But that's awesome. And I think it's so important to really follow your passions and pursue your dreams. We only have one life to live, right? And it's so short. And I love that you've made that leap of faith as well. What would you say has been like the most surprising or maybe toughest part about this career transition so far?
It's gonna sound funny. I think it's the communication. It was
Mm,
something that definitely threw me for a whirlwind because talking to people in this industry is so different, right? I've done customer service, I'm a boxing coach, social media events. However, in the world of real estate, the conversations are so different. You come from a different side of sales where other ventures, people maybe come seek you or whatever service that you offer, they come seek that. On the real estate side, you have to make those connections to make the business come. So that was
mm,
something that I was not fully prepared for, but I don't think anyone is fully prepared for that to have like those conversations because it's not so simple as selling a hair product. You're selling assets that are at
mhm.
least a few $100,000.
Yeah, absolutely. And depending like what type of asset that is for
Mhm.
somebody, right? Like it could be like this is going to be their forever home,
Mhm.
they're going to build a family and make memories and I'm sure you work with, people who are selling their houses and it's like their baby, right? So you
Yeah.
might have to talk to them about that's not the price point we're going to be able to hit you at, right? What would you say on the flip side has been the most fun part for you in diving into real estate?
I will say on the house side, it is fun to kind of like go into the houses, kind of determine what is worth like the house's value, what can make the property go up, what makes it go down, all the staging. So the numbers game is a lot of fun doing the
Yeah.
market analysis, the comparables, all of that. I would say like that's super interesting on how people get their numbers because a lot of times, you always like hear like the funny stories like, oh no, they always price it too low or like these people price it too high. But it's definitely a game. The market is a huge game. So I find that super interesting because the more that you can stay on top of it because it changes every single day, it makes it fun to kind of see how you can market a home or like pick a home like in every state.
Yeah, that's very cool. And jumping back to, kickboxing, what would you say, like comparing fighting in the ring and hustling in real estate, what would you say the biggest similarity is for you?
Oh, I love this one. It's funny because I learned it in kickboxing and I'm still learning it in real estate is that you have to learn like you're drinking out of a fire hose. You kind of have to learn as it happens. You'll never be prepared enough until the situation happens because things are always changing. With kickboxing, I remember the same way I learned is that I assumed like, oh, I learned this kick and I learned this kick. And my coach at the time, he said, you just got to do it, right? There is no way to measure and go step one, step two, step. You have to just continue learning, continue as you go, and you will adapt. And the biggest thing is being adaptable in any situation because that's the whole essence of the sport. Same thing with real estate is constantly being adaptable.
And it's bringing up that Mike Tyson quote, right? Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Hmm.
I think that's exactly how it is. Let's talk to the people who might feel stuck right now. Maybe they're in a career that they're like, okay, it's fine, right? This is like paying the bills, but like this is really not what I want to do. What's your advice for taking that first step, taking that scary leap and, really setting that off that chain events for that career change?
Yeah, I would have to say taking things in chunks and celebrating the small wins and really enjoying just the doing and the process. I think sometimes we are also very focused on results, right? Like we're results driven. We don't know what anything is until we get that number, that score. And everything in change is overwhelming. Change is not easy for a lot of people. And I think that if you bite size things down, also interesting enough, I had a meeting today, and in the meeting, they said that if you can write something down, that is about half the battle. If you can explain something as
Ah,
you're writing it down, half the battle is already done. So sometimes, like, there's people that have to talk things out loud to kind of make it make
yes,
sense. The same thing is that when you write it down, you just have to take things in small chunks. And then when you commit to just like I wouldn't say a simple task, but
sure.
something like one a day, some type of sizable chunk that is achievable, celebrate those wins, and that's the only way to get started. Because otherwise, we get stuck on this big picture and it will
Yes.
feel overwhelming. We feel like we're never going to get to it, and it stops us from even starting.
That's what I'm doing with Boxing Bells right now. I have just had this idea. I've had this like itch about women empowerment or surrounding boxing and kickboxing, and there's not a bright enough light shined and on the entrepreneurial side of what women are doing within the sport, inside and outside of the ring. It really takes you, that hustle, that effort. You really have to show up every day. I know you had mentioned the theory of the world nowadays about results and things like that. And oftentimes we see it's like measured in money and flashy things and all of that. But tell me what success looks like for you.
For me, I think it's that freedom to be able to do the things that I enjoy and pour time into that. Being on social media, I do get caught up in the numbers game, how everything looks, everything's curated. And you always have to remind yourself, like when we grew up, it'd be amazing to have 10 people listen to us or 10 people compliment us. And then nowadays, if 1,000 people don't do it, it's not enough.
Yeah.
So trying to stay away from that kind of frame of success and more like enjoy the little things like, oh, on a Wednesday, I can just drive to Orlando to my sister, and that's success to me because that's the life that I was able to create.
I think the more that you're authentic, right? It's like less about the likes after time and really just kind of checking yourself, right? Like it's going to be okay, you guys, right? Well, Lizzie, I'm going to throw a surprise on you. You don't know about this, but I would love to do something called championship rounds where I'm just going to fire off a couple of questions for you, answer them just as quick as you can. How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Bubbly, fierce, creative.
What's your dream house style? Beach bungalow, city life, mountain retreat? What's your vibe?
Beach house with a farm style yeah, like
Ooh, I love
like
that.
farm style inside.
What would you say maybe like your go-to hype song is before a big moment?
Currently, it's Golden by the K-pop Demon Hunters.
Ooh, and what do you have a hidden talent that maybe your followers don't know about? Besides cartwheels, of course.
I used to be really good at the violin.
Yeah,
Yeah, I used to
that,
play the violin a lot.
how long did you play for?
I played all of middle school and then halfway into high school, and then I kind of like sadly let it go because I love
Aw.
sports a little bit more. Yeah.
What's next for you? Where do you see yourself in this next chapter?
I hope to build my real estate career and have that kind of be like my mainstream of income. And then on the side, I do want to jump back into my activewear business and keep fitness going.
Well, Lizzie, thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm so honored that you could be one of my very first guests on Boxing Bells. Where can people connect with you and follow along your journey?
Yeah. And thank you so much for having me. I love what
Yeah,
you do. You're so inspiring.
thank you.
Yeah. So please follow me on Instagram. My main Instagram is Sealily, Seallilly. And then my real estate page is Lilo in the Space Coast.
Thanks so much, Lizzie. We'll talk to you soon.